Warning: the following video contains opinions that are mine and not anyone else's. All viewers of Banditex are encouraged to form their own opinion and to not follow mine directly. On September 8th, 2021, I uploaded my first game review, which was on Yoshi's Cookie of all things. The game was pretty bland. I do regret starting with Yoshi's Cookie though, just for the fact that it wasn't the first ever Yoshi game. You see, before I began my Crash 1 review, I was going to keep jumping into random games for each video, but I found myself constantly referencing games I haven't covered yet, which I felt would have been annoying to both myself, as well as the viewers. This is when I made it a habit to review each game in a franchise in order. I'll still make some exceptions, but I wanted to right the wrong I did back in September by going back to Yoshi. No, the game, not the character. We all know who or what a Yoshi is, but what about his very first game? I didn't find much info on this game's development history, but I can say it was a collaborative effort with Nintendo and a small company called Game Freak. I'm sure these guys never made anything of value and probably died off before the Nintendo 64 hit the scene. It's possible that Nintendo saw the money roll in from Super Mario World, which introduced the green dinosaur, and just asked Game Freak to make a simple and quick game with Yoshi in it. This game has 3 names: Yoshi in North America, Mario and Yoshi in PAL regions, and Yoshi's Egg in Japan. But I'm gonna call this game Yoshi because I'm a fat, stupid American. With that said, what is this game like? What did Game Freak do to give Yoshi his first ever solo role? The short answer is, they made a puzzle game. But let's dig deeper. There are 2 game modes in Yoshi, A and B. In A mode, the objective is to get the highest score. You control Mario, who must rotate these plates and catch the falling enemies. To score and eliminate enemies, you have to match them, so if you see a Goomba, stack another Goomba on top. Mario rotates 2 plates at a time, so one must be careful, as stacking a plate with more than 8 things on it will result in a game over. Stacking identical enemies does reward you with points, but very little, with the total being 5 points. To get more points, you'll have to make Yoshi eggs. Making a Yoshi egg is simple. Just match a bottom half shell onto any one of the 4 rows, then wait for a top half to spawn, then line the 2 halves up, and there you go. Any enemy between both halves will also result in a better Yoshi, which means more points for you. Game B plays just like Game A, but the goal instead is to clear the board as fast as you can. Once you clear a stage, the next one will begin with a few more enemies in it, but that's basically it. While I do find the design of the game to be original and easy to pick up and play, I also find it really boring. Since the only way to really score points is to make eggs, you have to wait for those shells, and they need to be formed in the exact same way, bottom to top. Attempting to do them in the opposite way just results in the top half poofing out of existence, which sucks since the odds of a bottom half shell spawning in are so low. There are 4 different enemy types, as well as 2 eggshell halves, meaning that there is a 1 in 6 chance that the game will spawn in something you need. This element is actually why I hate playing Game B, since there are times where you're about to clear a stage, only for the game to give you an extra enemy to get rid of that you don't want. So that's basically it on the gameplay in single player. I've never tried the 2-player mode, nor do I feel like phoning in a friend to do it. From the way the manual describes it, you have to clear your board as fast as you can. Doing so will give you 1 Yoshi egg, and the first to 3 wins. Instead, let's focus on the presentation. The music is surprisingly good in this game. If you're a fan of Pokemon Generation 1's music, then you'll likely enjoy the music in this game. It was done by Junichi Masuda, who also did Pokemon's music as well. The songs themselves are somewhat long for an NES game, and they are all awesome in their own way. The music may even be the best part of this whole game, if you ask me. The graphics are passable. It is a puzzle game, so I'm not expecting this game to go all out and push system limitations. Brownie points go to the multiplayer mode for having the second player be Luigi and actually making him look different. This is one of the few NES games where Luigi isn't just Green Mario, something that even Super Mario World got wrong on the Super Nintendo. If I had to nitpick anything, Mario looks like he needs more vitamin D. He's basically Ghost White, but that's a minor gripe in the grand scheme of things. Yoshi is just a really bland puzzle game at the end of the day. It only takes a few minutes to experience everything this game has to offer, and the only significance this game has is to show how Game Freak got its start in the gaming industry. It's not worth tracking down a copy of this game, and while it is on the Nintendo Switch Online NES library, it's still not worth your time when Dr. Mario is also on that same service. I give Yoshi on NES a 5.5 out of 10. It did do better than Yoshi's Cookie on NES at least, but really both games aren't great by any means. Now, how about we look at the Game Boy version next? Might as well, right? Funny story, I had this game for an incredibly long time, this being one of the oldest games from my personal library, as this is the same cartridge I first got back in 2003 or so. No idea where I got it or when exactly. I think my mom gave it to me after finding it and seeing how much I love Yoshi's Island on GBA. Going back and forth between those two games was so jarring to me, but at the same time, I never questioned it. To me, they were both Yoshi games, with this one being the Big Yoshi game. Anywho, Big Yoshi game is just like the NES counterpart. It has the same music, visuals, etc. There's less color than the NES version, but that goes for every Game Boy game anyway. I found the playtime in this release to be even shorter than the NES version though, and that is because stacks can only go up to 7 rather than 8. Aside from that change, and the multiplayer mode being a pain in the ass to set up, this is the inferior version. I will give this game the same score though, as a majority of the downgrades are from the limitations of the Game Boy, not poor design choices. In fact, this is probably one of the most faithful Game Boy adaptations I've seen. It's just a shame the original game was so mediocre. This concludes this episode of Banditex, as well as my first season. Yes, I do understand this review was really short and underwhelming, but I really wanted to cover Yoshi's first video game prior to Cookie, so that way I can get the Yoshi series up to my current review standards. There was one more Yoshi-related game on the SNES before Yoshi's Island called Yoshi's Safari, but I may save that for a video about the Super Scope accessory. So there you go, Yoshi's first video game. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Banditex, as well as the first season of Banditex, and I will catch you in the next one.